Here are the most recent deaths in the national news, as reported at Legacy.com in the fourth week of January 2026. Visit Legacy.com to read full obituaries for most of the people featured in this video and leave your own condolences on their Legacy page. Actor Manolo Villaverde died January 10, 2026 at his home in Daytona Beach, Florida at the age of 89. He starred as Pepe Peña in the 1970s TV show Qué Pasa, U.S.A. It was the first bilingual U.S. sitcom, and he won a local Emmy Award for his work. Villaverde is being remembered for offering important representation of the Cuban-American community and bilingual families. Musician Francis Buchholz died January 22, 2026 after fighting cancer at the age of 71. He was the longtime bassist for the German hard rock band Scorpions, playing on hit singles like Rock You Like a Hurricane and Wind of Change. Buchholz is being remembered for making music that resonated around the world. TV host Floyd Vivino died January 22, 2026 after a long battle with ongoing health issues at the age of 74. He was better known as Uncle Floyd, the longtime host of the cult favorite New Jersey children's TV show The Uncle Floyd Show, featuring comedy, puppets, musical guests, and silly antics of all kinds. Vivino is being remembered as a local legend who kept up the fun with several radio shows after The Uncle Floyd Show ended its TV run. Football player Kevin Johnson died January 21, 2026 in Los Angeles. He died by homicide at the age of 55. He was a defensive tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles in the 1990s, including when they advanced to the playoffs in the 1995 season. Johnson is also being remembered for his college career at Texas Southern and for his seasons with the Oakland Raiders and in arena football with the Orlando Predators and Los Angeles Avengers. Football player and golfer John Brodie died January 23, 2026 in Solana Beach, California at the age of 90. He was a quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers for 17 seasons from the 1950s through 70s, and he was named the NFL's Most Valuable Player in 1970. Brodie is also being remembered for his later career with the Senior PGA Tour, which included a victory against such players as Chichi Rodriguez at the 1991 Security Pacific Senior Classic. Actress Yvonne died January 23, 2026 at the age of 90. She starred in 1950s movies like I Was a Teenage Werewolf and High School Hellcats, and she had a recurring TV role on Father Knows Best. Lime is also being remembered for appearing in the movie Loving You alongside Elvis Presley. They briefly dated around that time. Dr. William Foege died January 24, 2026 at his home in Atlanta. He died of congestive heart failure at the age of 89. He was the driving force behind the eradication of smallpox in the 1970s, developing the vaccine strategy that successfully wiped out the deadly disease. Foege is also being remembered as the head of the CDC in the late 70s and early 80s, where he worked to establish a strategy to combat AIDS in its early days. Lobster trapper Virginia Oliver died January 21, 2026 at a hospital in Rockport, Maine at the age of 105. She became internationally known as the Lobster Lady, Maine's oldest lobster trapper. She was still working on her son's lobster boat past the age of 100, and she put on lipstick and earrings each day to do so. Oliver is being remembered as the subject of 2 children's books and a beloved symbol of active aging. Journalist Mark Tully died January 25, 2026 in New Delhi at the age of 90. He spent decades covering India for the BBC, becoming widely known as the Voice of India for his in-depth reporting on the country's many complex issues. Tully is also being remembered as the longtime host of the BBC Radio 4 program Something Understood. Musician Sly Dunbar died January 26, 2026 at the age of 73. He was the drummer in Sly and Robbie, the legendary Jamaican reggae rhythm section and production duo that anchored music by Peter Tosh, Bob Dylan, No Doubt, the Rolling Stones, and many more. Dunbar is being remembered as a talented, inventive, and influential drummer whose work helped drive the evolution of reggae. Dr. Thomas J. Fogarty died December 28, 2025 in Los Altos, California at the age of 91. His death was widely reported this week. He was a surgeon who invented the balloon catheter to remove blood clots from limbs, revolutionizing vascular surgery and saving millions of lives. Fogarty is being remembered as a brilliant innovator who developed his life-saving invention when he was still in medical school. More than 50 years later, it is still widely used. Comic book artist Sal Buscema died January 24, 2026 at the age of 89. He spent decades with Marvel Comics, becoming one of the industry's greats as he worked on titles like The Spectacular Spider-Man. Buscema is also being remembered for his art on The Incredible Hulk, Captain America, The Avengers, and many others. Pro wrestler Bobby Duncum Sr. died in January 2026 at the age of 81. After a brief NFL career with the St. Louis Cardinals, he wrestled with the WWF, NWA, and others. He became known for his cowboy persona and for competing as a heel. Duncum is being remembered for wrestling on a championship-winning tag team with Blackjack Lanza and for his feud with Bruno Sammartino. TV personality and grocer Peter Napolitano died January 26, 2026 at the age of 80. He was better known as Produce Pete when he was a regular guest on NBC's Weekend Today in New York, where he offered tips about how to choose the best fruits and vegetables and what to cook with them. Napolitano is being remembered as a staple of weekend TV viewing for generations of people in New York City and beyond. TV director and producer Tom Cherones died January 5, 2026 at his home in Florence, Oregon. He died of Alzheimer's disease at the age of 86. He was best known for his work on Seinfeld. He was the show's primary director for its first 5 seasons. He is being remembered for shaping the show's unique humor as he directed iconic episodes like The Parking Garage, The Chinese Restaurant, and The Contest. Cherones was a U.S. Navy veteran who served in the 1960s. At least 62 people have died as a result of the winter storm of January 24th and 25th, 2026. As of this recording, deaths have been reported in 15 states. 6 people were killed on January 25th, 2026 when a business jet crashed during takeoff from Bangor International Airport in Maine. Before we continue with this week's anniversary tributes, let me just say that some of the most remarkable obituaries we saw this week at Legacy weren't for celebrities, but for everyday people like you and me. Those include this 99-year-old great-grandmother from California, who was one of the pioneers in growing Pinot Noir and Chardonnay grapes in Sonoma County. This brilliant mechanic, businessman, and U.S. Army airspace controlman who learned to fly aerobatic maneuvers as a crop duster over Kentucky farmland. And this beloved pediatrician who volunteered for decades in her Ohio community to champion opportunities for young people. At Legacy.com, any family can publish an obituary in honor of a loved one's memory, online and in local newspapers everywhere. Just visit Legacy.com and select your local community. In addition to featuring current deaths in the news, Legacy.com also honors the lives and legacies of notable people who died in the past. Here are some of this week's anniversaries. 5 years ago this week, actress Cicely Tyson died at the age of 96. She won a Tony Award for The Trip to Bountiful and was memorable in movies and TV shows like Sounder, Roots, and the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. "10 years ago this week, actor Abe Vigoda died at the age of 94. He had a supporting role in The Godfather and played Detective Phil Fish in Barney Miller and in his own spin-off, Fish. 20 years ago this week, civil rights leader Coretta Scott King died at the age of 78. The widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., she turned her grief into action after his assassination, carrying on his legacy and advocating for peace and equality. Journalist Gene Siskel was born 80 years ago this week. He died in February 1999 at the age of 53. He became one of the best-known movie critics ever as the co-host of At the Movies with Roger Ebert. Actor Troy Donahue was born 90 years ago this week. He died in September 2001 at the age of 65. He was a breakout star of the 1950s in A Summer Place, and his TV roles included Surfside 6 and Hawaiian Eye. Every week in the United States, flags are lowered to half-staff to honor the lives of Americans whose communities are mourning their loss. Here are the most recent half-staff memorial flag honors. Flags in Florida have been lowered to honor the memory of U.S. Army Sergeant First Class Mark Henderson, Jr. U.S. flags have been lowered at some federal buildings and airports to mark the one-year anniversary of the tragic mid-air collision of American Airlines Flight 5342. You can read more about the lives of the people featured in this video on Legacy.com. Follow Legacy.com on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube to stay up to date on national news deaths.